So are we still waiting on a couple of people? I think we probably, in the interest of time, want to kind of get started here. So I'd like to first of all welcome everyone. Thank you. And thank you for being part of our inaugural Hot Topic, a new program that we're having here. So if you've got ideas, anyone listening, if you have ideas for other hot topics you'd like to hear about, just let me know. Okay. So I am Teresa Stoes, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Collier County. And I really want to thank you all for coming. Hot Topics is something new that we're trying, and it's going to be wonderful because first of all, it allows people to participate without having to get in their cars, drive away, park, walk, do all of that. So that's a good thing about it. And then we're going to be putting all of these on our YouTube. And so that we will have that, in perpetuity. I
Oh,
did
no.
want to give you a couple of housekeeping items here before we get started. First of all, this presentation, as many of you probably already know, will be recorded for later sharing via the website. The chat will be open to everyone and we will monitor it for our questions. And then the speaker or speakers will be spotlighted for best recording. And this will override your view setting, whether you have it as gallery or speaker during this part of the program. So just wanted you all to know that. And our first hot topic here is about Voter Services 101 and what you can do to get involved. Take it away.
Okay, well, we're going to start out by talking about voter services tabling events, which Tina more than me, have done a lot of.
No, you have done.
And first of all, so what is a tabling event in voter services? We will go anywhere, anytime that citizens in Collier County will welcome us in. So we take part with different committees within the league. For example, there's Earth Day at the Conservancy. There's, help me out, Tina. Oh,
There's the Pride Festival. There's Martin Luther King has a tabling event. There is June 19th. There's the backpack event, to name a few. The health department usually does something in November. I think they are doing it later on this year. And then there's a number of smaller events that we've gone to, Laura, that you've reached out. So any community, HOAs, we're trying to broaden our scope wherever we can be.
we want to go wherever voters are. And
Yes.
go to the tabling event because we literally have a table there and a couple of chairs, although we try to stand up and actually meet and greet voters as they go by. And our big basic ploy or what we offer to them is voter registration checks. It's turned out that almost everybody in Collier
Yes.
has a driver's license, and so they're already registered to vote. But they may have no idea what their voting status is, what party they're affiliated with, which only matters in the August primary, but it matters a lot then. Whether their address is current, whether they have requested a vote by mail ballot because
Mhm.
Pascal's up in Tallahassee mandated that the files had to be erased as of the end of 2024, and they will be re-erased after every November general election. And so it
Yes.
means that all of us voters who enjoy having the flexibility of a vote by mail ballot have to know that you have to keep requesting it basically every 2-year cycle. But you can, when you check the registration, you can actually see what their status is. In terms of knowing, our landscape here in Collier County, something like about 55% of Collier County is registered Republican. And then the other part is kind of equally split between being registered to the Democratic Party affiliate or what's called NPA, which is no party affiliation. And it
Mhm.
only makes a difference in a primary, but in a primary, you only get a ballot that matches your party affiliation on your voter registration. And if it is, we have in Florida what's called a closed primary system, which means that if there is opposition beyond one party, only the party you're registered will be on your ballot. And in Collier, many of the local races are settled at the primary level. And so if you are not registered Republican, you don't see and have a chance to vote from the group of candidates who are running on that ticket. But whoever gets the most votes is going to win and that's the end of it. There will be nothing on the November general ballot. And so many people choose to manage which ballot they'd like to have in the primary election by changing their party affiliation. And then you can go back and change it back to whatever you want afterwards. But it makes a difference. And so we between now and August, will try to educate people on, do you know about your party affiliation? And you might want to consider which ballot you'd like to be able to vote on the candidates from going into the primary. So everybody's got a cell phone, I hope. And let's open up your charger, your browser. On mine, it's Safari because I belong to Apple in everything. But if you'll on your phone, open up whatever browser you use, Chrome, whatever, and get a new search window, and then just type in Collier votes all together. And that's going to take all of us to the voter registration website. And this is what we do at Table and Events. We have an iPad. People can bring their personal iPads and hotspot, but we help voters go in and literally check their registration. All right, my phone is making me put my codes in.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a new window on my phone. And so I'm going to type in Collier votes. And it's going to hopefully take me right to the supervisor of election screen.
Of election.
I'm hoping is doing that for you too.
Yeah, it's okay. There we
Melissa
are.
Blazer's picture. When you get
You have Melissa Blaze right there.
okay, I've got her too. I don't know if you can see it. And then once you've gotten onto this screen, we're going to scroll down to check my voter info. And go ahead and click that tab. And this is what you'll be doing with voters at a tabling event. And it says, check my registration status. So I have to put in my first name. You're going to put in your first name. Then I'm going to put in my last name. And then my date of birth. And I'm a terrible typist, so I have to go.
We're getting there.
This has to match exactly. You have to click the box that you understand that you're looking into your registration and yours only. And then I'm not a robot. And then there's a blue submit button.
Oh, here it goes.
Yep. And then it should pull up your registration. And mine says that I'm registered. I've got the green light, which means I'm active. My ballot status, I have a standing request to receive a vote by mail ballot. And then just some background information about me. And it shows me what my current party affiliation is. So with a voter, if it came up and said they did not have a vote by mail access, a vote by mail request on that, we would say, would you like to have one? And if you happen to get a voter that doesn't have the green button saying that they're registered and they're active, requesting a vote by mail ballot will take a voter from being inactive to active. Just the act of asking for that vote by mail ballot counts as a voter activity with the Supervisor of Elections Department. So they can fix the fact that they've slipped into inactive. And that only happens if you don't vote and they send you a warning postcard and you throw it away without reading it. So, but knowing that there are, I think it's either 12,000 or 15,000 voters that went inactive in the last time they call it list maintenance. Okay, so someone says that they haven't, let me just read the question in the chat here. I haven't requested it. Okay, Sarah says it has. Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm like, why does it say I haven't requested a ballot? Is it only Collier-wide elections? Because
No.
I requested and received a ballot for the Naples City election, and I know I've received the ballot, but my thing says
That is worthy at the end of our Zoom call for a phone call to the SOE office.
oh no, I lied. If I keep scrolling down, it says, never mind.
Okay.
Okay, good. It
I didn't
worked.
scroll far enough on my phone.
Are there anybody else got a question on what they got when you got your screen?
Yeah, hi Laura. I don't see where I can request mail-in ballot.
Well, you're only at the check your registration screen. If you're getting the message that you haven't requested a mail ballot, then you're going to need to go back to, and we're not going to do this on the Zoom for time's sake, but you need to go back to the front page of the SOE and type in the search window online vote by mail request.
Mhm.
And it will give you a link and you tap that and you have to have your driver's license handy because you have to enter a variety of things, your house at number, address, the last four digits of your social. You have to give them enough information to prove to them that you are the registered voter. And then you can get to a screen where you can request a vote by mail ballot.
Mhm.
And if you're helping a voter do this, they do have to have their personal information. So many people just hand me their driver's license and I use it to put their name in exactly the way it's on there. And it has their house number that's on their registration and it has their date of birth. And so then it only has to ask for the last four digits of their social. And once you get past that and it pulls up their voter record, it asks if you want to request for all elections until they purge the files again or only the current election. And many people, when it comes up, when then the next screen asks you about what address you want your ballot mailed to, and many people have a second address because we've got snowbirds like me who go away in the summertime. And so I go ahead just voter information wise to tell them that, if you're wanting to vote in the city election, we're going to click to mail the ballot to your Naples address. But if they have a second address on there, or I'll say, are you going to be traveling in August and be out of the state? Because they will not forward a ballot out of state. You have to put your summer address in. And then after the February 3rd city election, a simple phone call to the SOE to say, for August, I want you to mail my ballot to my address for me in Delaware, for somebody else in Connecticut, for somebody else in Minnesota, wherever you're going to be in the summertime. And then when you get back to Naples, one more phone call to say, for the November general, I'm back. Please mail my ballot to my Naples address. So it's a conversation to have with a voter as you go along. And nobody ever goes to a tabling event that there isn't someone there who has a lot of experience that if you get stuck on something, you can say, hey, can you help me with this?
And also our handouts. We have a very nice handout that was done, and it has the Q codes. It'll take you to the two websites. This one here, SOE, or one that'll take you directly to the vote by mail request. And all of our information is, of course, in English, Spanish, and Creole. We make sure that we have all those, almost all of our literature that we can get translated and put out there, include Spanish and Creole.
Okay, and there's a couple of questions in the chat. Someone's asking, will we be having education sessions with Sandy Parker for this year's elections? We actually have been tabling for the municipal election coming up on February 3rd. We have had tabling events at an exhausting number of candidate forums so far. And it's been very encouraging because we have helped lots and lots of voters with checking their registration and re-requesting these vote by mail ballots. And we still have a forum tomorrow afternoon,
Tomorrow afternoon, right?
GSAC, Maureen's Park, Coquina Sands, and there's somebody else in there, Park Shore. And then we have one request outstanding for Monday afternoon with Port Royal. But on February 22nd, the window closes to order a vote by mail ballot. So at that point in time, if you haven't gotten your request in, you're going to have to go in person to the precincts. And the other thing that I carry on my phone is the precinct map. And, because people will say, where am I supposed to go vote? And it is on their voter registration card, but I can like flip open the picture and say, okay, here's the map, here's where your location is, and it has the street address in a box next to it. So there's handy dandy things from the SOE that we can help people with information that they don't have to fumble through the screens. And, make certain that they understand to have a plan about how they're going to vote. All right, let's see what else we have. Okay, I think that takes care of it. Now, does anybody else have general questions about tabling events and what we do? Mostly we're just being friendly and smiling and telling people about the league. We always have information about joining the league. And a
Yeah.
surprising number of people say, oh, maybe I should look into that.
Yeah.
So
It's a great opportunity to speak to people, to let them know who we are, what we are, spike interest and, and we do get people, we do recruit people at these events. So it's a good opportunity to talk. Also, Sandy just published, and I don't have one. I gave them out all last night at the forum, a new like handbook, and it's a synopsis of her presentations that she's done through the town. And people, yes, I had a few of them. They took them up. So this is something that we can use, and it's fantastic. I don't know. I think many of you have seen it at the luncheon. We had it distributed there.
Yeah, it's almost like a little civics
It
lesson.
is. It
Who
is.
moves into Collier County from outside about how elections work, how the local government works, what's the
Mhm.
relationship between the city, the county, the state, and federal. So it's a wonderful guide.
Extensive guide, yes.
Okay, so
Does she have them online? I'm not sure. We'll check. I know she had quite a few printed. She was waiting for 1,000. So to be delivered to her the day of the luncheon. So I'm going to reach out to her and get some more that we can distribute.
well, it might be a good idea.
To see, I'm pretty sure she
If we
probably
could
would
get
have it online.
we could put it on our website where people can
Yeah,
access it through the league as well. That would be
we can coordinate with her. Yeah, she's
because
very happy to get this out there.
even
It's,
in my house, it'll get stuck somewhere. It happened to be on the kitchen counter because I just got it.
yeah,
But it eventually is going to be somewhere that I can't find it when I want to
yeah,
see something
yeah.
that's in there. But I could look it up online very, very easily.
Yeah, no, I had about 6 or 7. They were taken last night, so it's good.
So the other thing that we talk to voters about at table-in events in conjunction with election is our Vote 411 online voter guide. And the way the voter guide works is that for each election, either the supervisor of elections office or for Naples, it's the city clerk who handles the election. They have a qualifying period for candidates to qualify. It has a deadline, and you have to be qualified by that deadline. When that deadline happens is when Vote 411's online guide kicks into action. And what we do, and Vote 411 is a national thing, and I'm pretty certain you could even do it internationally. But every local league, of which there's more than 750 across the country, when there's a local election, they handle the 411 guide part of their election. When there's state level things happening, the League of Women Voters of Florida populates Vote 411 with that. So we don't do the state stuff. And the federal, like the presidential and, the seats for the US Senate and the US House of Representatives, that's handled at the state and federal level too. So we're responsible here in the Collier League for Collier County races, things that happen in our county. And when the candidate qualifying ends, we set up each race in Vote 411, and then we invite each candidate. And they are invited to post a picture of themselves it'll have some background information where they can tell, where from, where they went to college, education stuff. And then the Vote 411 subcommittee pays attention, and we reach out within the league too to decide what are the important issues that voters would kind of like to hear about before they decide who they're going to vote for. And we'll have 4 to 5 issue questions, maybe 6 if it's got a real hot thing going. And the candidates are asked to answer in their own words their position on these different issues. And then for voters, and we hand out little cards with QR codes, and it was on the back of the candidate forum advertisement, how to get into Vote 411. You go in and you put in your address, your home address, and Vote 411 will show you a sample of every race that's going to be on your ballot. So you can find out what's on your ballot. And when you click on the races, each of the candidates and their information comes up, and you can click boxes to compare candidates. And you can actually, if you make what your choices are at the end of your session, it'll print you or email to yourself what's going to be on your ballot and who it is that you want to vote for. So, it doesn't, like with the Naples election, there's only one race for city council. So I can remember the names that I want to vote for. But when you get to the primary and the general election, there's lots of stuff. There's county commission races, there's school board races, there's mosquito districts, there's all sorts of little community level things that get voted on. And The ballot can be 4 pages, 3 pages long. So it's kind of handy to have done your homework ahead of time and go in there and, the voting process can take 5 minutes instead of taking 20 or 30 minutes if you're trying to read through all this stuff from the start. So we have a Vote 4111 subcommittee that anyone is welcome to join that helps us to set up this online voting guide for our races. If you like to talk to people, we end up dogging these candidates because they're so busy to get them to take the time to log in and get their profile set up and get their picture up. And we'll help them with any of it, but we won't write their answers to questions and we won't touch anything they say unless they violate the guidelines that you can't put misinformation out and you can't say nasty things about the other people in your race. In that case, we would come back to them and ask them to change their response. But so we collect the candidate information, we reach out to them, we answer questions, we help them with the website if they need it. If they're going to be referendum on the questions, which are voter questions about changes to constitutions at the state level, or I don't know if there's ever been a national referendum, but here in Naples, I know in the November general election, there's going to be a referendum for the salary of the counselors because they wanted to increase it and they discovered that it's actually something that's written into the city charter. So you have to have a referendum to change a charter. And I'm certain that the county is going to have some referendum items too. But when there's a referendum, they're usually yes, no questions. We work together to write a simple, plain English description of what it is you're being asked, what is the background on this referendum question. And then we write, what does it mean if you vote yes? And what does it mean if you vote no? And then we research and find who are the groups that have publicly stated that they are behind a yes vote on this or behind a no vote on this. And we'll list qualified organizations, sometimes the Chamber of Commerce, sometimes the League of Women Voters chimes in. There's a variety of interest groups that will take positions on referenda. And so we do the homework and write up so that voters, when they get to that, it's like you scratch your head and you say, I don't know, they're changing the city charter. Like, what does that mean? And so to give them the background. And there have been some big, in 2024, there was a question of reproductive women's health. That was a big referendum. That one was done at the state level because it was a state constitution item. And I'm certain in November, this local tax thing, something's going to end up on there for a referendum to do with the county taxes and whether they're going to limit the ability of taxing authorities to have real estate property taxes. In some fashion, there may be as much as I've heard people say there could be 5 or 6 different questions trying to decide which is the one that voters like. So that's another area that ends up on Vote 411. And then once it's gone live, which right now the City of Naples Vote 411 is live. And if you want to see what it looks like, just use the address of a city library, like the Central Library down on Central Boulevard. And you can pull, if you use that for your home address, you'll get the Naples ballot and you can see what the candidates do. But we try to promote it because we want people looking at Vote 411, reading what the candidates have to say about themselves. And I call it voting smart because you've looked at who best recognizes your interests. Unlike for example, text message that went out to all registered Republicans from the Republican Party, identifying 3 of the Naples candidates and saying, these people are liberals, do not vote for them. Like, we want voters not to have someone tell you how to vote. We want you to be engaged with the issues, know who represents your values, and vote accordingly. So that's Vote 411. Are there any questions on how that works, or have I confused you thoroughly with any of it? Nope.
I would just add that the local referenda generally have had to do with tax increases of one kind or another, like the 1% sales tax. And some of them are countywide like that, and sometimes there are special ones for what are called MSTUs, the Metropolitan Special Taxing Units, which generally affect specific neighborhoods, like for improving median landscaping and similar kinds of things. And then, of course, there was Conservation Collier, which in saving it last year, it was important that we could point to 3 separate elections in which the county population had overwhelmingly voted in favor of that program. So those local issues beyond the candidate elections are always important.
I have a question, Laura.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to Google vote 411 Collier County. I get the League of Women Voters. I click on that, but there's no interaction to the vote 411 link.
Only put in vote 411 or
Okay,
vote411.org. It's researching and telling you about vote 411 in general, not the
okay,
actual site.
okay. So just put in vote 411.
Right. And then
Okay.
to see the Naples race, you need a local address. I can give you my address, 850 6th Avenue North.
So, oh, put the vote 411, then your address?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to ask you for an address, and you have to have an address within the city limits because those are the only voters that are going to get a ballot.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, so not Collier County, but Naples.
Well, the current election is in only the city of Naples. And so,
Okay,
and when I'm checking vote 411, trying to make certain it works, and there's races all over Collier County, I just go find the public library that's in
okay,
that district, and you can give it any address, and it'll tell you what the ballot's going to look like for that address. And so county, but if this was the general election, your home address will show you your ballot. And Susan, help me out here. In the last election at Immokalee, did we have, how many different ballots were there? There were at least 7 different ballots.
Oh no. In the primary, we can have like we will have literally like 50 different
Well,
ballots
yeah, there are.
because all of the districts overlap each other. So like the mosquito control, if there's a primary, there will be, there could be one house that overlaps into a different district for mosquito control, and then they get a separate ballot. So it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And
And vote 411 has something mysterious called GIS files that point to all these things.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how that works. It's beyond my pay grade, but the vote 401 gurus help us out anytime we have problems with that. And it's a quirky but interesting thing. How do you decide what's going to be on my ballot versus you, Vicky, for you're going to get Lely sorts of things on your ballot. I get the city of Naples on mine.
Yeah. I wish they would go to like, if you go to early voting, they print your ballot on demand.
Hmm.
And I really wish they would do that for Immokalee because we end up throwing so much paper out
We do. Yeah.
because we have so many different and we have ballots that never get used. Like never
Hmm.
even I mean, we have to open one packet of each, but man, we have at the end of the day sometimes not a single ballot out of a packet's been used. So
Hmm.
one day, we'll see.
and Laura, I would also add that during election cycle, we have Vote 411 featured frequently at the top of our homepage, as it is right now. And a link to it is always available in the footer of our website. So, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's resources that has links to the National League, the State League, and to Vote 411. So our website is another way. If people can't remember, is it Vote 411 with a space or not a space or whatever, they can always go to our website and find it.
And you can tell your neighbors, your friends, if you have a civic association. I send emails out to all my nieces and nephews when there's general elections saying, do please go look at your vote 411 and
Um,
see what's going to be on your ballot, and it's vote 411 is everywhere, because the league is, there's 750 local leagues to fuel this thing. Okay.
okay.
Any other questions? Are we ready to get out the vote? Okay, Susan, it's all yours.
Um, hey everybody, it's nice to see a couple new faces and a lot of I won't call them old faces, previously seen faces. So how's that?
Don't
Um,
call ourselves.
I know nobody's old. So for get out the vote, typically what we're doing is, it's education, making sure people know all the information that Laura and Tina talked about earlier about, where to register, how to register, making sure people, if you get to your polling place, especially on election day, and you're in the wrong place, we've had people who couldn't vote because they were in the wrong place, and districts change. Like Laura was talking about, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. I have a sister with a PhD in that. She's the president of the Dayton League. So if you ever want to know anything, let me know. I can hook you up. And so what we're doing is making sure people have all the information they possibly can and know, like, hey, if you vote early, you can go anywhere. No problem. You can drop off your vote by mail ballot. Um, Now we cannot accept vote by mail ballots on election day. We are not allowed to accept them. Only at the supervisor of elections office are they permitted to accept ballots on election day, vote by mail ballots. So we have to know all those things and make sure the community knows that. So we do focus on areas of the county that where information is probably not as readily accessible, and where people are incredibly busy and may have to, work 2 or 3 jobs just to get by. And we don't want to make their lives more difficult. So we make sure we have information available from Vote 411. We make sure we do our voter guides in English, Spanish, and Creole. We supply them electronically as well as physical copies. We take them out to churches. We take them to the libraries. The libraries are great about distributing things for us. And we just do everything we can to get people aware. We also use Google Ads. We haven't done our budget yet for this year, so I'm not sure where we are with that, but I'm sure we'll get there. Um, I'm trying to think of what else really. The focus is making sure that we get as much information out as possible and accurate information. And that's the big issue now, right? Is making sure people actually are getting the right information. And as you all know, the League, we are a political, nonpartisan organization. So we are not standing behind candidates. We are only standing behind issues and making sure the information about the candidates is accessible. So we'll continue doing those things. We've been doing them for I don't know, as long as I've been in the League, which has been about
Long
7
time.
years. So it's a fantastic program if you're interested. We always need help with just getting more information, leveraging what we have. Stacy does a great job writing articles. We leverage that information as well, and just try to make sure our community is aware of what not voting does and why their voice is so important.
And Susan, why don't you talk a little bit about the demographics of Collier? Because we actually, in general elections, have fabulous voter turnout, like in the 90%.
Yeah,
But
we have among the highest voter turnouts in the country for Collier County, and I attribute that. I mean, obviously the league has something to do with that, but our supervisor elections is phenomenal, and they do a great job they table events, probably as much or more than we do. They make sure people are aware. They do a great job of recruiting people to volunteer to work the elections, to table, etc. So they do a great job. And for our demographics are interesting because and probably the majority of you know this, like if you go to our Collier County schools, we have more than last time I looked, it was 60 languages spoken in the homes of the kids who go to school in Collier County. So when people say Collier County is, old, white, etc., it's like, no, we are a hugely mixed county as soon as you move a little bit east of 41. And the further east you get, like out to Golden Gate and out to Immokalee, incredibly culturally diverse county. And that's actually one of the reasons why we'll talk about it when we talk about working elections. That's one of the reasons we took on Immokalee. It was actually specifically at the request of the supervisor of elections office, when Jennifer Edwards was still the supervisor, and we said, what can we do to help? And she said, I need a consistent group to go out to Immokalee because we've had some groups out there who haven't been encouraging of people to vote. And when we're out there, if there's somebody who comes in and they don't have their ID, whatever, we will make sure we do everything in our power to make sure their vote gets in and counted. If it's a provisional ballot because they can't get home in time, we encourage them to do that because we want people to know their voice is important. So that's all part of the getting out the vote effort, as well as, everything we do is about really getting out the vote and getting the information out to the public.
Yeah, in the last few years, working with Susan, we focused on Immokalee and Golden Gate because that's where we saw the opportunity to make more of a difference. Because the people in the other areas of with the supervisor election, they're just very well informed, and the need was out there. And Susan and I, the Immokalee Interagency, that's when we discovered we really needed everything to be translated our material. So that's been our focus in our outreach because of the need out there in Golden Gate and the other River Park, wherever we can be.
Yeah, we
And
look at kind of
yeah,
the lowest turnout
mm-hmm,
precincts, and that's where we
right,
focus our efforts, is looking at the data to say
mm-hmm,
who has the lowest turnout, where can we have the biggest effect.
right. Mhm.
And it's a lot of fun.
It
So
is. We've
there's that
we've been
too.
to, we've been to family meetings with the farm workers. We've done quite a few things there. So yeah, so we can, anyone can reach out and you just have the resources, which is what we're doing now.
Mhm. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
The only thing I would throw out is that the current supervisor of elections, Melissa Blazier, when we've met with her and asked the question, what can we do to help? She would be over the roof if we had enough volunteers within our league that we could also staff the Golden Gate.
Yeah, that's
Make
it.
their life so much easier if we could do that. Because
Absolutely.
Yeah,
beyond Immokalee, which probably has the most languages spoken and the most hard to reach people to get them in to vote, Golden Gate is next.
yeah,
And each time I say, yeah, I know you do, but we only have so much bandwidth. So, as we have new league members coming in, there is a definite need, and it is something the league can have big impact on if we just had more people willing to work the polls. And it is fun. I mean, it's not
it
hard.
is.
It's a long day, but it's a fun day. That it goes by so quickly, and it's really, there's a good esprit de corps among everyone while you're there. Susan gets a great lunch ordered in for a month.
I'm sure we can find a good place in Golden Gate too.
Um, with respect to the language diversity in that community, I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but on our website there is a language option, and if you choose a language other than English, a lot of our website content will be automatically translated. So for our Spanish speakers or Creole people, or any language, it's right under the login, join buttons up on the upper right hand corner of our homepage. Or really, I think, it's on any page. There's a little drop down box where you can pick your language, and that will translate a lot. It won't translate graphics, obviously, but it will translate text automatically for you, including news articles in the news feed and so forth.
Mhm. And the same thing is true on the supervisor elections page. They have the same service, so it's great. Thanks,
Okay.
Wendy.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry to be annoying.
Well,
Um, Given the current climate, do you have many people that are fearful of registering to vote?
I don't think they're fearful of registering to vote, because honestly, we have such high voter registration already in this county. It's a bigger issue when we get to the census, which is part of
Right.
voter services. Laura and I, as well as different members of the league from different county districts have met with the commissioners to try to actually start planning for the census, even though we're still 4 years out. It's going to be here faster than we know. So it's a bigger issue for census for sure. Um, yeah, like I haven't heard about them using voter registration information to go after people. But I know for sure with census information, people are very timid.
Yeah.
So,
When I worked at the Immokalee poll in November of 2024, that was the first time I'd done it. And I was fascinated with the diversity of people coming in with 3 full translators for Haitian Creole in the precinct all day long, help
mhm.
those voters make certain that they can read the ballot and, with how to get checked in, because there are a lot of like non-English speaking. I think for Collier demographics, the Spanish population is bigger than the Haitian Creole. But in Immokalee, Haitian Creole is a big
Yeah,
language.
sure.
And
And
it's going to be much bigger turnout this year because it looks like uh, Dr. Boyer is running.
Is running. Well, that's what we
So,
discovered a few years ago when Dr. Boyer was running. So many new Haitian Creole speaking new voters came in. And
mhm.
that's when we discovered we needed translators because we were relying on calling that was at the primary. And we relied on the translating with the phone and we just weren't getting. And then what happened is there were some campaign workers with them that were coming in helping. So we asked them, there is an ability to ask them that a form has to be filled out because they weren't our election workers, giving them permission to translate. So we used a number of young ladies to do that. And later on, during the regular election, we asked a few to become our poll workers as well. So that's how we got like 3 or 4 plus 3 or 4 Spanish because it's important. There's just no way about it. And it was interesting with the new people. They really, the spoiled ballots. There was a lot going on, a lot of education. But in the years since, the couple of years since, we've seen them come back. They're
Mhm.
registered voters. So that was a good thing in that community. So hopefully it will spark more interest in voter turnout. Yeah.
that was a great question, Vicki. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Tina, maybe talk a little bit about what are the requirements for becoming a poll worker?
Yeah. So what we have, like, as Susan said, we've been in Immokalee, what, 3 elections, 4 election cycles. And it has a phenomenal turnout. I think the last one at the last year, it was the highest election numbers that we saw. And we were very busy. We were out there, I think there were 14, 15 of us. And it's a long day. We get out there, we meet at 5 a.m. We get out there. And once you're there, you cannot leave. So it's a long, and that day particularly, I think we left about 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. So it's something to be prepared for. Then there's training with the SOE. They will train you. You have online training to do a couple of hours. And that's usually a first time thing. And then every election, you have to go in for a class, an in-person class specific to what your role is at the precinct. And we have a great crew. It's a great day. It's a long day. And Immokalee, there's a number of things going on. It's very busy and it's very rewarding. We work very well with the supervisor of election. There our call center. We're constantly on there. I remember as soon as we opened, we were at 7:10 and we were on the phone already because because when a person comes in, it's either they can vote or if there's an issue with their status, they have the option to do a provisional ballot. We did tons of provisional ballots and things that we found out that Susan and alluded to, that people did not register on time. They didn't have the correct address. They did not have all of their information. And we there, as Laura and so many people, did everything we can to make sure that they could vote. We had one person come in, they were registered, I believe, in another state. and we're on the phone with Tricia. We got their registration fixed and they were able to register. So everything possible is done in order to make them vote. So it's a great way. And what I found, and I think Susan too, and Laura, is if you think you know what you know, as voter services, we think we know about election. But once you vote at work as a poll worker, there is so much more that you learn. And it's a very rewarding experience. So if anyone is interested, let me know, or let Laura or Susan know, and we'll get you in contact with the supervisor election. This year is going to be a busy election year. We have a primary that we have to staff for and the general election in November. And if we do get enough workers, perhaps we can take on another precinct. But right now we have the moorings, which we've done for a number of years, which is run by Becky Newell. And this year I have the opportunity to work as a poll deputy. So I'm very excited about that. She needs some extra help. And that's the person outside who tells people, you know, you can or what you can and cannot do before you come in there. And you know, if you're interested, please let us know. You know, it is a good experience all around.
It is.
It
It is, and
is.
it's a great way to
It is.
see how well the elections are run and how
Oh,
difficult it would be for on the election in the precinct side for there to
right.
be any kind of voter fraud.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember that.
what happens you know, behind the scenes, I won't speak to because you need to go through a supervisor elections tour because you see how they do things, and man, they are
It
a
is.
well-run
I know.
organization.
I mean, Susan and I, I remember our first time working it, we had to open the machines, the tags, the recording. It's painful. And then that's what they do, you know. And the counting of the ballots. I remember the last time we were off by a number, there's like 12, 14 ballots, that different ballots, though primarily you only use one or two, but you need to have access to all of them. So, but we have a great team out there, so hopefully you can come and join us as well. Any questions?
Well, I hope to see you all out there.
Yeah,
My big goal is eventually I would love to see everybody who's running for elected office has to work at a poll one time so they
yes,
understand.
exactly.
Because I think, especially our legislators, it would be great if they understood how elections actually are conducted so that they would stop saying these things about, you know, people voting who aren't legally able to vote.
Yeah, actually, in conversations that I've had with people, and I draw on the experience. Well, what is your perception? Well, this is what happens, and it's such an eye opener for people when they hear because we draw on our because they make these accusations or false assumptions, and when you tell them how it actually works, it does make a difference.
Does for sure.
Mhm. We had the poll work one and four. At the last election, we had such a number of poll workers coming in, not poll workers, poll watchers coming in, and you know, there was one in particular that wanted to try because they're not supposed to speak to anyone other than the clerk, which at that point I was for that particular election. Usually Susan is, and I'm her backup, but they just cannot speak. And I had to tell her, I said, you can't interfere here. You need to keep your distance, you know, and that's how it is. You know, each ballot is accounted for in terms of if there's an error, we have an envelope, we have to keep track of that. We give them a folder of so much paperwork at the end of the night of everything that's accounted for. You know, we don't leave there without accounting for every piece of paper that has come in with us and leaves and goes back to the SOE.
So that's a good lead into then Laura talking about the canvassing board because
Oh,
obviously the canvassing board is all about
the backup.
I'm
okay, the
do that.
election's done. Now what happens?
Mhm.
Just a little bit from Tina about postcard writing and phone
Oh,
banking.
sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, real quick. Well, as many of you know, for a couple of years now, we've been doing returning citizen postcard. They're great, fun ways to get together and to get some information out. However, that's kind of put on hold by the state right now, and we're waiting for direction from them to try and resume that. But there's other things going on at the state level that we want to support with some letter writing effort, and one of this is the redistricting. So they had last time we were up in Tallahassee, we were given some postcards. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this. What's the best way to get our mailing? And I'm hopefully talking to the state with that. Once we have a clear a plan, we'll try to resume that. And I'm sure there's a number of issues that go on in our elections that we're great letter writers, or most of us are great letter writers and great speakers on phone, and we can use our voice and it makes a difference because they know how many calls they're receiving, their staff. Sometimes I'm calling and can't, I don't know someone has 9 offices. I forget if it was, and it makes a difference with our voices are heard. It's as we saw with the impact fee, the incredible support that the ambassadors and the league and everyone has, behind that. So that's a power that we can use. So with our budgeting and our project plan that we're going to be doing, we're going to outline some of that. And I hope you'll join that. But unfortunately, right now, returning citizen is just a bit on hold with that. But we're going to find other ways that we can work with that.
And when we started up, postcard parties are a lot of
It's
fun.
fun. Yeah. We usually do it at, Altaville. I usually feed you there, we get to know new members, love it. They get to get introduced to us. So it's a nice event. So we'll try and work on getting that. We'll try and do it on, the same on a weekly basis, hopefully the same day, same time. So it's easier and get it on the calendar. But we're just developing that right now to get that going again.
Okay, we have a question. Tina, when you say you're working with the state, please clarify that you mean the state league, not the
Oh,
state.
the state league, yeah. When we were up in Tallahassee, they gave us some cards to use to write to your legislators. So I really wanted, to actually order some more and get a list and just understand the perimeters, what we can do that is more effective, and we'll get that going.
Okay, so we'll move on to the canvassing board unless there's questions on postcarding or phone calling. So what is a canvassing board? A canvassing board is a construct set up by Florida election law. And it consists of the supervisor of elections, a county judge for a county race. For the city of Naples, it's the city clerk. And then, wait a minute, let me start over. Supervisor of elections, county judge, and then who's the third one? Oh, someone from an elected official.
Commission, right.
The law says it should be the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. Now, for a number of years, the county, not only the chair, the entire county commission manages to disqualify themselves by endorsing particular candidates in a race, which disqualifies them from being an impartial canvassing board member. And so they have to scramble around and find someone else who can do their job for them. But it's a 3-person board. And again, this is all laid out in the election law, but for an election to happen, the canvassing board has to have their first meeting when they do a logic and accuracy test, which is a predetermined set of ballots, and they have to be every type of ballot that could come in on that election. And they actually open up the whole supervisor of elections operations center, and it's like a pretend test election. And they run all these ballots through, all the machinery gets turned on. It's fascinating to watch. And then the scanners are run and scan the ballots, and then the vote tabulating machines run. And then usually it doesn't take that long because it's only a certain number of test ballots that have to go through, but they come up with what the results are. Well, the results are predetermined because they filled out those ballots at the SOE. But they will keep working it until they get 100% accuracy, at which point the canvassing board can vote to authorize the election. And that means the election has officially started. It lets the supervisor staff start to process vote by mail ballots. They cannot be counted until election day, but they do the signature matches. And if you sent in a vote by mail and your signature wasn't right, someone yesterday came up to me to say they'd been called that that their signature needed to be cured because it didn't match. And you have a chance. They call you on the phone, they send you an email, they send you a postcard, and you have a certain number of days to come in and show them that you are that voter and re-sign the ballot so that they can see what your signature looks like and that you're there. Then your ballot will get counted when they're allowed to count them. So and what we do is we send observers in. We try to have like 3 to 5 members for each meeting of the canvassing board. And right now on the league calendar is the canvassing board for the City of Naples municipal election. So you could volunteer for the logic and accuracy test, which is just before election day. I think it's like the last Wednesday in January. You'll see it on there. Then on election day itself, the canvassing board meets because they will canvass, which means look at the vote by mail ballots that didn't have a signature match. And I have to say, I am so impressed with how far they try to bend over backwards to be able to qualify and count every vote. But there's sometimes, if you sign, like I saw someone, you could tell by their handwriting that they were young and it was probably the first time they voted. And her name was Alexandra, and she signed Alex. That won't do. You have to sign your official signature of record, which is what's on your driver's license. And they just, they had to say, sorry, we cannot count this ballot because the signature doesn't match. And so we are observers. We literally stand behind the tables where they're looking at the ballots, and you can watch over their shoulders. You can't talk to them, you can't touch them, but you can see what the question is, and then you listen to their discussion, and then they have to vote ballot by ballot by ballot. Can we accept it? Is it not going to be accepted? And then they stamp them, and again, they account for 100% of everything. So all these ballots have to be carefully counted and accounted for. So that's the logic and accuracy test. Then there's canvassing to match the signatures. They rule on whether provisional ballots can be accepted. Tina mentioned to you that on election day, if something's not right with your registration, instead of a regular ballot, you can have a provisional ballot. Well, all of those have to go to the canvassing board and be looked at by the 3 members and decide in accordance with election law, can they put this one in and count it? Or is there something in the law that says this is not a valid ballot and it's not going to be counted?
And many times, Laura, the provisional ballot also is because they do not have a photo ID with them.
Okay.
And everything else can be fine, but if they do not have that photo ID, then they have to do a provisional ballot. So that's important. And another thing I wanted to add about the signature, that often happens with young students, because it happened to my son. He went for his driver's license and his name was Jesse. His official name is not Jesse. And this is many years ago. And I call him, like, it's because the proper name versus another name that they go by. So, and me as a parent didn't realize, and him certainly as a student didn't realize it. So,
There's also, not for the city of Naples, well, it could be, but for the primary and the general election, there's international vote by mail ballots that come in, and they have to look at those and make certain they've done the deadline. So those will show up in the canvassing board. And at the end of the election night board meeting, they will release preliminary results of the election. Then a couple days later, there'll still be more vote by mail ballots because they can be accepted up until 5 o'clock the night of the election. So sometimes they're processed and it's the next day that you have a signature match. So there's another round of looking at vote by mail ballots, provisional ballots, and international ballots to see if they can be counted. Then the canvassing board will, when all of that is done, they can then release the official results of the ballot. And that's another vote that they make. And then they select a single precinct. And this is all required by Florida election law. They have to choose a precinct and schedule a date, which will be the last meeting, where they have to do a manual audit. And they have to bring out the boxes of ballots, and they have to literally go through, and you have 2 people working together as a team. Okay, they voted for this one, they voted for this one, and you have to like hand count, and you have to get to the machine tallies. Now, I've been observing there for several years. The machines are always right. I mean, I've never seen an exception that the machine wasn't more accurate than the humans looking at it. And when you dug through it, you found that, oh no, look at this one, it got in the wrong pile, it should have been here. But they do 100, they have to get 100% accuracy on the chosen precinct. And when that audit is final, then that's it. The election is finished and over until the next election comes, when a new canvassing board is brought together. So what do we do as a league? We send 3 to 5 members to each of the meetings of the board, and it's open to the public. So there's league members there, but there's also people from the Democratic Party, there's people from the Republican Party, there's wackadoodle election deniers who want to go back and check the serial number of the machine. And of course, no one's allowed to go into the room where the machines are whatsoever. But you get some interesting questions from the public when they open the public comment and question and answer part of it. And it gives you a good sense of, what the people who are worried about elections, what are they worried about? That's what they're going to come in there and ask questions about. And but it's really reassuring because you see how very careful and how very accurate the supervisor elections office is. And every meeting, when they have the public comment at the end, someone from the league will stand up to thank the 3 people on the canvassing board for their careful work and for, the confidence that we have transparent, fair, properly run elections in Collier County. So it's a fun way to learn a whole lot about how the backroom stuff of how votes get counted. And you can see that part of it. So there are, I think, 4 meetings on the calendar between about January 27th and about February 10th to 14th that you can click on and volunteer. And all you do is show up when the meeting meets, and we sit together as a group, identified, wearing our name pins as League of Women Voters, and are encouraging to the canvassing board. And when there's naysayers trying to say things aren't right, we try to at least make a comment and support the supervisor of elections. So I welcome you to come. It really is interesting. And that's, unless there's some questions, about all I can say to you about the canvassing board. Okay. So with that, that's all the things that are under the voter services committee part of the voter empowerment part. We also have 2 other sections that we do. And the first one is candidate forums, which Pat Aiken O'Neill is here to talk about the forum that just happened last night.
That's right. That's right. Good morning, everyone. One of the services that the league offers for election years, and this is an election year, is to provide a candidate forum for the community to basically meet the candidates and hear what the candidates have to say beyond what they put on their websites. And Laura mentioned that our candidate forum for city council candidates was held last night. It was held at the City Hall in the council chambers from 5 to 7. We actually ended early. We were trying to end early, and we ended right on time. This is a little aside. One of the reasons we ended right on time is that we employed the sort of the warning to the candidates that they had for some sections they had a minute to speak. And if they exceeded their minute by 4 seconds, they would be muted. So sort of the mute button really helped us last night, and we ended at the time we thought we would. The league is a member of a coalition of community organizations called the Collier County Forum Coalition, and they basically they're organizations that collaborate to provide forums and community activities to introduce candidates for elected office to the community. So there are things like forums. There are also meet and greets, and each one gives the league an opportunity to have a table there and to provide our information to the public that are coming. Let me just say a few words about last night. There were a lot of forums for the city council election, which is on February 3rd. Almost every neighborhood has had a forum. So we really didn't know what to expect in relation to the audience. But I would say we basically had close to a full house for the chamber, which seats 100 candidates. So I think that it was a very active and interested group of people who showed up. The forum itself is sort of like putting on a play. Basically, you have to find the venue, you have to get the actors who are the candidates, and basically commit to planning a program for the evening. We had to find moderators for this year and 2 years ago when the league also offered a city council forum. Um, we got the moderators. One was John Davis, who is on WGCU. You probably hear him all the time. And Wendy Fullerton Powell, who I think she's like the executive editor for the Naples Daily News in Naples. And those two are great. First of all, they work together. They're very comfortable. They're very knowledgeable already. They handle the audience well, and they basically marketed the forum for us. So we had great marketing. The other thing about having it at the city council chambers, it's really sort of unofficially viewed as the official forum. And I think that also helps attract members of the public who want to attend because they have all these forums that they can attend. Many of the neighborhood forums basically emphasized neighborhood concerns, which is fine. But this forum basically emphasized, I think, more major issues.
Sure.
Pardon me, I can't hear. Did someone ask a question? Okay, sorry. Anyway, so this forum offered questions that were of interest to basically anybody who would be voting, who would be eligible to vote in the city council forum. So it takes a village. There are a number of volunteers from the league who work together to make this happen and work collaboratively. Last night, we actually hosted the forum with another organization, Greater Naples Leadership. And I think that was also very helpful in relation to just securing a broader audience to come to the forum and to be engaged. So as I mentioned, we have to get a site, which we did, the city council forums. We have to basically contact all of the candidates. And this year at the very beginning, it was sort of challenging. At that point, there were 9 candidates, which they basically became 8. And it was hard to know whether they would fit into the city council space. And I actually contacted 2 other potential spaces in the city of Naples because we wanted to keep it in the city. And oh gosh, their prices were ranging from $2,000 and up, whereas the city council forum is gratis, which is fabulous for us. And eventually, when the 9th candidate stepped down, we were able to confirm that we could fit in 8 candidates on the dais. And so I had mentioned basically the venue, the candidates. You need to make sure that all the candidates can show up and will abide by the rules. And we do have, strict rules for what they can and cannot say and basically how they should act, what kind of literature they should bring. They can't bring literature into the chamber itself, but they can feature their literature on tables that we provide outside. We needed to form the questions, and we did in several different subject matters. I don't know that I'll remember them all, and Laura, you can help me. One basically was what would they do if they were elected to office? What are their top 2 priorities? Another was the environment. Another is quality of life. Laura, help me. What else were the others?
Well, it doesn't matter what it was last night because it's whatever the issues are for that particular race.
Yeah.
And we can
Yeah.
have one
But
of
they're interesting.
It's a group of league volunteers who develop
That's right.
questions,
Mhm.
figure out the wordsmith, bringing out just what we want, kind of the areas.
Yeah.
And maybe talk a little bit, Patricia, about the roles that people who want to volunteer with voter services would do at a forum.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, there's a lot pre-planning, like we were saying. You were just saying that we get together to develop questions. And that is actually a really interesting meeting and an interesting group coming up with these questions. And we did have 6 questions, which we were concerned about in relation to the time, because we had 8 candidates. So basically, we held one question in abeyance. It was actually a taxation question, and we were able to ask that of the candidates last night because we were going on time. So so the volunteers are involved in a number of the pre-planning sessions. And also, we greatly need and welcome volunteers for the night of the forum. The volunteers do all sorts of things. They hand out the programs. They basically accompany people into the session and to make sure that people are not themselves wearing campaign literature. They basically assess the number of people who are coming into the chamber because it's very strict in relation to everyone has to sit down except the people who are collecting questions from the audience. There was an overflow room in case there had been overflow. There was not last evening, but if there is overflow, then we have volunteers basically accompany people upstairs to the overflow room where it is being televised. And if that were the case, they would have run the questions back downstairs for the audience questions. Um, you know, Set up and clean up, and basically just make sure that the candidates are all accounted for. We needed to apprise the candidates again of the rules. Of course, we had written the rules to them several times, but there are always sort of last minute things to come up. So we needed to meet with the candidates in a back room, 15 minutes to the start of the session. We need to make sure that the president of um, the league, as well as the president of the GNL, were seated. We have timekeepers; those are also volunteers from the league who are really exacting people. they they work to the second, and they make sure that the candidate starts when they should and stops when they should. I mentioned the 6 questions. Following the 6 questions, we did entertain questions from the audience. They are written questions. So again, volunteers hand out the cards on which the questions can be written and collect the cards and take them to another volunteer who is basically vetting the questions. And particularly if several questions are sort of around one particular topic, she will combine the questions for that topic. Last night we were able to ask 2 questions, two audience questions, and then that was it. The presidents of, as I mentioned, of GNL and the league, one introduced last night and one closed last night, and basically the closer said, "Please vote. The voting is on February 3rd. The election is on February 3rd," and so we look forward to the other election activities during the year. Again, we need volunteers, but it's really it's a great transition. It's a great way to get involved in the league, and you're really involved. When you're involved, you're really involved, and you're working with a lot of people and meeting a lot of different people who are all volunteers, just like you. And I think you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the candidates. You learn a lot about the election, and everyone gets energized, and it ends up being a very fun thing, and necessary for the community. Laura, is there anything else I should cover?
There's a question in the chat. What forums are we planning in 2026?
Well, we are just at the beginning. We basically do the kickoff. The league does the kickoff, which is the city council elections, which are different than the other elections. As we just mentioned, the city council election is in February. The other elections are all in November, with primaries in August. So it becomes a little more challenging um, in relation to offering the forums when there are enough people in Naples to, attend and be involved. For example, 2 years ago, I was involved with the GNL Forum for the commissioners, and it was offered in May. We were trying to capture the people before, we were trying to capture voters before they went home. Oh, and there is one other thing to say about last night's forum too. But anyway, they were trying to capture people before they went home, and also before the primary. Um, and it's awkward because the primary is in August. So I don't think there's a good answer as to when there should be a forum for the commissioners, but it's a very important election. And I think that the coalition that, basically provides this on behalf of all these organizations that are members needs to really talk about this year and see how best we can offer something, whether it's a forum or something else, to the community when the community is here in the here in Naples and before they go home for their 3 months or 6 months of the season. One other thing I meant to mention is that last night it was televised in real time. I don't think that we have a way to know how many people tuned in. I imagine that it was a pretty good group that tuned in. But because of having Wendy Fullerton Powell from Naples Daily News and John Davis from WGCU, we are also offering this online. It's going to be recast by WGCU. I contacted John Davis this morning to get a link to provide for people so that whether they attended or not, and some people might want to see the forum again, they can see the forum. And I think that will help them in relation to making decisions about the candidates. And I also mentioned the program. We offer, a program at the event, and it has biographies on all the candidates. That too gives you, a good idea of what the candidates' priorities are and what the candidates' values are.
And Pat, we also, when there is a recording that is available, we will post a link to that on
Yes.
our website as well as
Mhm.
making that available through our newsletter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to get the link, and when we get the link, then we contact Wendy.
So there will be forums surrounding the August primary. Definitely one for county commission. There'll be school board forums. And then for the general election in November, the city of Marco Island has their municipal elections there. And there's usually a forum that we're not necessarily heavily involved with, but there is a forum, a candidate forum for their city council. For the general election, if there are Democratic candidates
Yeah.
for the county commissioner, then there could be a forum in the fall where it's not just the primary candidates for a given party, but it's for the general election if there are opposed seats. It just depends on who the candidates are. And so the little elections, mosquito district and stuff like that, there's not really forums for those. But I think as a goal, as a league, our goal is that any election that the information from the candidates would be better information for voters if there's a forum. We'd like to be able to help produce a forum in order to do that. And I think we generally offer to have our league have a few volunteers as greeters at if another group in the coalition is offering the so see coming out through the update opportunities to volunteer as the other ones happen. Okay.
Yeah, one or two other things. Yes, and some of the other members of the forum came last evening and were very pleased because it's sort of a dry run for them, basically. So you mentioned forums, but there are other activities. There are meet and greets. So, for instance, there was a meet and greet at Naples Chamber last week, and Laura and I were there and had the literature on the league. But again, it gives people an opportunity to meet directly with the candidates. And actually, I think a number of the candidates stayed on last night to speak with the audience, which was also very good. And and also because we mentioned the supervisor of elections and what a good relationship we have with her. They not only had a table last night to help people with voter issues, and Laura was also next to them to help them as well. But the supervisor came to the came to the forum, which was, unexpected and wonderful. And so when I spied that she was there, I went back to the closer, the GNL president, and asked him to please recognize her. And as soon as I got back to
No.
the, as soon as I got back to the back of the room, she was exiting.
Leaving.
She was leaving, and I went after her. And she said, "Well, she said she was cold." And I said, "Well, that's okay, but are you staying
Okay.
around?" And she said, she was staying around, but she was going to be outside. But then I sort of saw her looking like she was going to leave. Went back to her and said, "Please stay on because we're going to, mention you and honor you at the end."
Yeah,
So she came
thanks.
back in, and we did. We mentioned her and honored her for coming to our forum, which was again just sort of a designation of us as official.
Okay. Does that wrap us up then?
We have
hope that-
our closing thing is for Tina and I to make certain that everyone who's on this call knows that it's a league-wide activity this next Monday for the
Right, Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And you tell them the details about coming because it's really fun.
It's really fun. This will be our third time participating. We really want to get the biggest crowd going. We meet, if you are interested, please go to the event calendar. It has information, and we'll know how many people are coming. We typically meet by St. Anne's in that area. There's the address is there as well. Around about 9:30, 10, we gather, take some pictures, get together. It's a fun day. We walk from the Third Avenue district all the way down Fifth and we end at Cambria Park, where we have a tabling event for the rest of the afternoon. So hopefully we can get a good crowd, bring friends, trying to get some kids there, throw out some candy, flags, have some good music. And it's a good PR. Actually, it's a really good PR. The first time we did it, we were in the front page of the Naples Daily News. And it's just a way to support our community. So if you can.
And a golf cart for anyone who
Yes, we have a golf cart. We're trying to get another convertible for people that can't walk. It's a slow pace. It's not, if you can't do it, you can stop, but it's typically not too bad. And I think Laura said we're going to have good weather that day, so that's always a plus. It's not
We'll
too
be
hot, not too
posting
hot at all.
kids and handing
Great.
out little
Yeah,
flags.
we have our
Perfect.
banners.
It's a fun time.
It is. It's a fun time to show us in the community. So we
Teresa,
have some time.
Thanks so
Teresa,
much. Yes.
Teresa, before we go, I know people might have not noted down who to contact, who's in charge of each of these activities. So I put a link in the chat. It's basically go to our work, committees, voter services,
Good.
and you will have information about who's responsible for each of the voter services activities.
Mhm.
Bunch of tabs that you click on to get that information.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Wendy. And I just wanted to make a couple of wrap-up comments. First of all, thanks to all of our speakers. We appreciate you so much and the information that you gave. I want to thank someone who you didn't see who is critical to this, and that is Patricia Rotoloso, who has
Yes.
been our guru behind the scenes, Zoom guru. So thank you so much, Patricia. We appreciate you. And I also wanted to announce that Tina Palmese has just become our chair of voter services. So that's wonderful. And thank you so much for that, Tina. And Laura is our volunteer services coordinator. And while we have lots of volunteers, the two of those people take the spearhead of all these activities. So thank you for joining. Thank you for joining our first, what do I say, Hot Topic Zoom. And if you have any, I'm going to put this real quick in the chat. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me at president at, and then the League of Women Voters of CollierCounty.org. And it's not, it's,
LWVCC. Yeah, .org.
no, Wendy,
It's LWVCollierCounty.org.
thank you.
Also,
LWV CollierCounty.org. Thank you. And you can reach me, and if you've got any suggestions, any comments, any criticisms, we're going to take it all because this is our first row at this. And so we thank you very much. And I think that wraps us up. Thank you. Have a great
Okay,
day.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.